Winter, 1941. On the Eastern Front, the greatest threat wasn't the enemy you saw. It was the landscape itself, a vast, frozen expanse stretching for thousands of kilometers, where the temperature plummeted to unimaginable depths. This was a new kind of battlefield, one that rendered conventional military wisdom obsolete. The enemy wasn't just a soldier in a different uniform. It was the biting wind that stole the warmth from your bones, the profound, deafening silence of the snow-covered taiga, and the endless, blinding white that played tricks on the eyes and the mind. In this environment, the most advanced machinery of war could be rendered useless, frozen solid in its tracks. The real battle was more primal. It was a struggle against the elements, a fight for simple survival where the line between hunter and hunted was as thin as the ice on a frozen river. It was the one you couldn't. Survival demanded a new kind of warfare, invisibility. The traditional doctrines of mass and maneuver, of clearly defined front lines and formations, dissolved in the deep snows. A soldier's life no longer depended solely on the firepower of his unit or the armor of his tank. It now hinged on his personal ability to merge with the stark, white world around him. This wasn't merely about hiding. It was a complete reimagining of the soldier's relationship with his environment. He had to become a part of the landscape, to think like the snow, to move with the wind. Every shadow, every snowdrift, every cluster of trees became a potential sanctuary or a potential grave. Invisibility was not a tactic. It was the fundamental principle of existence. When Operation Barbarossa stalled in the Russian winter, gray uniforms screamed against the snow. The German Wehrmacht, a force that had blitzed its way across Europe, was catastrophically unprepared for the ferocity of General Winter. Their doctrine was built on speed, mechanized assault, and clear lines of sight. But the autumn mud had slowed their advance to a crawl, and the winter snows stopped it dead. Their standard-issue field gray uniforms, so effective for camouflage in the temperate fields of France, became a fatal liability. Against the pure, unbroken canvas of the Russian steppe, each soldier was a walking bullseye, a dark silhouette easily picked out by a hidden observer from hundreds of meters away. They were easy targets, but the Finns moved like ghosts. During the Winter War of 1939, they had already perfected the art of winter combat against the invading Soviets. They were masters of their environment, using the terrain not as an obstacle but as their greatest ally. On skis, they possessed a mobility that heavy-booted infantry could only dream of, allowing them to strike from unexpected directions and melt away before a response could be mounted. Their tactics, known as moti tactics, involved isolating, encircling, and annihilating larger enemy units. They were phantoms in the forest, a white death that bled the Red Army dry through 1,000 small cuts. Their effectiveness was a terrifying testament to the power of adaptation. Snow taught a brutal lesson: blend, break shape, use terrain, and vanish. This was the mantra of the winter soldier. Blending meant matching the color and texture of the surroundings. Breaking shape meant destroying the telltale human silhouette that the eye is hardwired to recognize. Using terrain meant understanding how to move through dips and hollows, using ridgelines for observation, not for travel, and turning every tree and rock into a piece of cover. And to vanish meant combining all these skills with discipline. The discipline of slow, deliberate movement, of breath control in the cold, of leaving no trace, no discarded ration tin, no telltale footprints. Armies learned fast, or died faster. The lessons paid for in German blood on the Eastern Front were quickly codified into new training and doctrine. Field manuals were hastily written and distributed, filled with sketches and instructions on everything from building snow shelters to camouflaging a machine gun nest with packed snow and branches. Soldiers were taught to whiten their equipment with whatever they could find: paint, chalk, or even a paste made from flour. The learning curve was vertical, and the price of failure was absolute. Entire divisions were decimated not just by enemy action, but by their inability to adapt to the cold and the tactical realities of the winter landscape. This is how soldiers learned to disappear. The first and most fundamental principle is understanding the medium itself. Snow isn't pure white, it's texture and shadow. From a distance, it appears as a uniform blanket, but up close, it is a complex tapestry of light. It reflects the blue of the sky, captures the gray of an overcast day, and holds deep, dark shadows. It has grain, sparkle, and depth. It can be fluffy powder, hard-packed crust, or wet, heavy slush. Effective camouflage doesn't try to be a single flat color. It seeks to mimic this complexity. The goal is to absorb and reflect light in the same way as the surrounding snow, to become just another random pattern in a chaotic natural environment. Flat white becomes a billboard. An unnaturally pure, untextured white surface is just as conspicuous as a dark gray coat. It lacks the subtle interplay of light and shadow that defines a natural snowscape. The human eye is exceptionally good at detecting such anomalies: unbroken surfaces, perfect geometric lines, and uniform colors. A clean white sheet or a freshly painted helmet screams man-made to any trained observer. It creates a hole in the visual landscape, a spot that just doesn't look right, drawing immediate and unwanted attention. Model it. Rough fibers break the surface. The solution is to introduce visual noise. Soldiers would deliberately soil their white camouflage, rubbing it with dirt, mud, or slush to create irregular patches of gray and brown. They would use materials with coarse textures, like burlap, which naturally break up light and prevent a uniform sheen. Some units even developed patterns, subtle splotches and stripes of off-white and light gray, to further disrupt the flat surface and mimic the way shadows fall across the snow. The key was to avoid uniformity at all costs, blend by copying nature's chaos. The natural world is devoid of perfect lines and solid colors. It is a random, chaotic mix of shapes, textures, and shades. The winter soldier learned to emulate this. He would add branches from local vegetation to his helmet and pack, not just to break up his outline, but to match the specific colors and textures of his immediate surroundings. He learned that effective camouflage is not a static state, but a dynamic process of constantly adjusting to the subtle changes in the environment, from a sun-drenched open field to the deep shadows of a pine forest. Loose oversuits broke their outlines. Mobility plus terrain equals invisibility. The Finnish ski troops proved that speed and silence were as crucial as camouflage. Being able to traverse the landscape quickly and quietly meant you could choose the terms of engagement. You could appear where you were least expected and disappear before the enemy could react. This mobility, combined with an intimate knowledge of the terrain, knowing the hidden ravines, the sheltered forest paths, the frozen rivers that could be used as highways, created a formula for tactical invisibility. The soldier wasn't just hidden, he was transient, a fleeting presence that was impossible to pin down. To invaders, they were ghosts. The psychological impact on enemy troops was devastating. Soldiers would be marching through a seemingly empty and silent forest, only to have a man next to them fall, shot by an unseen rifle. Panic would set in. Where did the shot come from? Every tree, every snowdrift could hide an enemy. The silence, once peaceful, became menacing. The landscape itself felt hostile. This constant nerve-shredding tension was a weapon in itself, eroding morale, inducing paranoia, and causing soldiers to make fatal mistakes. Fear multiplies what you cannot see. A single unseen sniper could paralyze an entire platoon. A small squad of camouflaged ski troops could be mistaken for a much larger force. The unknown is always more terrifying than the known. The mind populates the white void with imagined threats, turning every gust of wind through the trees into the sound of an approaching enemy. This psychological warfare was a core component of the White Death, making the invisible soldiers seem ubiquitous and invincible, a supernatural force rather than men of flesh and blood. The brain spots the human form. Evolution has programmed us to recognize the human silhouette instantly. Even a partial or fleeting glimpse of a head and shoulders is enough to trigger an immediate alert in our brains. This is the greatest challenge for any form of camouflage. No matter how well you match the color of your surroundings, if your shape reads as human, you will be detected. The entire art of winter concealment, therefore, is based on the systematic destruction of that recognizable form. Kill the silhouette, helmet, rifle, shoulders. These three elements are the primary culprits. The smooth, domed shape of a helmet is a geometric anomaly in nature. The long, straight line of a rifle is another. But the most significant giveaway is the head and shoulders. To counter this, soldiers draped themselves in loose-fitting ponchos or smocks that eliminated the defined shape of their torso and shoulders. They used helmet covers with attached netting or fabric strips to break up the roundness, and they wrapped their rifles in cloth, transforming these dead giveaways into just another set of random, lumpy shapes in the snow. Improvised survival. In the brutal winter of 1941, official supply lines failed. Survival became a matter of desperate ingenuity. Soldiers used whatever they could get their hands on. White bed linens were sent from home in massive quantities. They were cut into ponchos, helmet covers, and rifle wraps. Medical bandages were used to break up the lines of weapons. When nothing else was available, some units even resorted to using whitewash or white paint, creating crude but effective camouflage that, while imperfect, was infinitely better than the dark gray of their uniforms. It was a Darwinian process of field-expedient innovation. Then, standard issue, Vanish on demand. The lessons of that first winter were institutionalized. Armies developed and mass-produced specialized winter equipment. The most iconic of these was the reversible winter parka. One side featured a standard disruptive pattern, like the German Splittertarn or Splinter pattern, for use in forested or snow-free terrain. The other side was pure white. With a single garment, a soldier could adapt to changing conditions in minutes, flipping from a mottled green and brown to stark white as he moved from a thawed patch of ground into a deep snowdrift. This was the industrialization of invisibility, a standard issue solution that allowed entire armies to vanish on demand.